Hello everyone, this is Jani and Emil from Skills Journey, and we are so excited to be back. Again, we've been journeying with you about meta skills over the last couple of weeks, and last week we had John Simons here from Doxadayo Church and Ministries, and we talked about teamwork and how that could actually play a big role in just you in your job. And today we have two very special guests in studio with us. I know we promised you the DHET last week, but we had to change some things around. So we actually invited two very special guests, Jacques and Marli from Inqubeko. And I know it's Inqubeko, but I do not have the ability to say that with my tongue. So Marli, won't you introduce yourself, and then we'll also hear from Jacques.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jani, and thank you, Emil, as well, for having us on your show. It's really a big privilege to be here. And so as Jani mentioned, my name is Marli, and I am involved with Inqubeko.
Thank you.
I also sometimes struggle with the pronunciation. And so my role at Inqubeko is to assist our clients to implement training solutions and comply with their BE in conjunction with their BE compliance. So I also bring that part to the table. Just on the technical side, assisting them to use that spend, and while they do that, to make an impact as well in different students' lives.
Awesome. Thank you, Marli.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Jacques?
Yeah, hi Emil, Jani. Thank you so much for having us. Really is a pleasure. Yeah, so I'm Jacques Kriek. Studied mechanical engineering. Have the opportunity to work as a consultant for Inqubeko. I've been trying and learning how to do the. So
you can do it really well.
Yeah, so as Inqubeko, we roll out training solutions. We have a few innovative solutions outside of the training space as well, but for today, we'll focus on the training side. And not to go into too much detail regarding the solutions, but we truly have a big passion for the youth of our country and see them being employed and see them excel, in every area of life.
Yes.
Because we truly believe that it's possible for each human being to flourish.
So good.
So
yes.
we wanna see that.
Thank you, Jacques. We are super excited about the discussion today because, as you know, we're talking about the big five in skills, in meta skills, and today we will be talking about the elephant. So not about the elephant in the room, but how elephants actually function in systems and how well life happens in nature with around these elephants. So stay tuned. After the music break, we will continue the discussion with Marli and with Jacques.
That was the local flavors of Ntokozo Mbambo with You Always. Welcome back to Skills Journey with me, Emil Robenheimer and Jani Bravenboer from the Popup team. We are talking about the meta skills, the 5 big meta skills, the big 5. And we've been talking about them for the last couple of weeks. And if you're just joining us, today we are talking about the elephant and just the elephant's capabilities to function in ecosystems. They're these huge animals that has such a big impact really on everything around them, from how trees grow or how trees are kind of pushed down so that the smaller animals also have spaces to hide, to how they spread seeds for new growth to happen. And so really today we're diving into what the skills system looks like in South Africa. I think it's sometimes a daunting thing for us as learners and lifelong learners to navigate this space because it feels so big and it's like really hard to understand. And so we just want to dive into that. And we've got the privilege of doing that with a team from Inqubeko, Marli and Jacques. And we're going to hear from them in a moment. But just for our listeners' benefit, the skills system in South Africa really is split between these two really big engines, if we will. On the one side, we've got the basic education system that deals with everything from like ECD centers all the way through to matric. And then we've got this post-schooling education and training system, which is really a world-class system, just modeled around some of the stuff that our government has learned from the Swiss environment. That includes the community colleges, the TVET colleges, the universities, the private higher education institutions, and all of those wonderful things. And so we've got kind of these two conflating systems that meet in the middle. And yes, our basic education system has a lot of challenges, but what we often don't realize is that the basic education's challenges actually don't start in basic education. They start with childhood malnutrition and malnourishment, which has stunted growth implications, and then kind of puts kids into a system that really only caters for a standard entry point and cannot accommodate the nuances. And so all those nuances and expectations and kind of special needs puts pressure on a system that doesn't really tailor well. And so that has some consequences and challenges. But in general, understanding that we've got these two big systems and where to go and what is your next step as a learner is super useful. And so, Jacques, I want to hear from you guys. I think your organization also functions in that liminal space between the basic education and the post-schooling education and training system. And you guys have some interesting perspectives just on how those two could potentially be navigated successfully by our learners. Don't you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, Emil, thank you so much. Yeah, what's really important, what you said, the elephant and the ecosystems. I think these are two big ecosystems, but they should come together.
Yes.
And as we know in South Africa, youth unemployment is a big issue, and it's on everyone's lips. And we believe that we can really tackle youth unemployment before the youth are unemployed.
That's
because
beautiful.
if you think about it, they're unemployed, most of them, once they leave school.
Yes.
Not they couldn't finish their studies.
Yeah.
So the question is, how do we get them to never be unemployed right after school? Because that, if you intervene there, then you don't have to tackle youth unemployment because they're unemployed. You tackle it before they're unemployed.
Before the unemployment even starts.
Exactly.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So we play a critical role, in that space, because we realize that if you can build the ecosystems to really speak to one another in a seamless way, then the learners can exit school and they can enter whatever space, whether it's in the, it's in the TVETs or it's in colleges or universities, or even straight into corporates. There's so many opportunities out there, and we want to really see, and we believe it's not just, here's the route for everyone.
Exactly.
It's very individualistic.
It's tailored. There's these unique pathways, isn't it?
Correct.
And Jacques, I think I would really like to dive into this deeper after the break, because I think the one question that probably, at least I'm sitting with, and some of our listeners might be struggling with the same question, is because we're dealing with such enormous systems and such big needs and requirements, I suppose the question is, how do we really get this right at scale? Because finding a unique pathway for me as an individual might be easier and more accessible if I understand how to navigate the system. And that's the one part of understanding how to function effectively in a system. But I suppose the other question is, could we really scale this? And what is scaling these interventions and creating these connections between these two really big ecosystems? How do we do that better? So we'd love to hear from you. Stay tuned after the music break.
That was Empty Room by Kay Thompson. And you are busy listening to a wonderful discussion that we have on Skills Journey with Jacques and Emil from Popup. And we're discussing the elephant in meta skills today and just working in a system. And with us we have Marli and we have Jacques, and they are from Inqubeko. I'm trying. And Jacques has this amazing story that he wants to share with us. So Jacques, why don't you just tell our listeners?
Yeah. Thank you, and thank you so much. Yeah, it truly is an incredible story. It's a story of building talent pipelines for corporates from school. And what excites me about this is we go deep into the rural areas of South Africa. And we always say, it's not that they are less or more. It's just the potential is the same. And we go and we search for that potential. And it's quite a robust journey that we go, and then we build these talent pipelines into the corporates. And we have this wonderful opportunity to partner with Toyota South African Motors in this. And as we go into the rural areas, we equip learners with math and science with the AI-enabled app. We see their progress. We do exam preparation sessions. We do mentorship. We do life coaching. We really try to develop the person holistically, because that is at the end of the day what's critical.
Yes.
And then they enter into this different career paths into Toyota or any other corporate for that matter, because we, as we said, we want to truly tackle youth unemployment before they are unemployed. And it's very much scalable, and Marli will speak to that, because there's a few ways we do that, but the reason also it's scalable is because of the app. And it's because of the life coaching that we do, and we do it remotely. And we found ways to, these learners, they get their phones, they get their data, they get everything. They do it on Zoom. And it's a holistic package. And some of our learners, they ended number one in KZN.
That is amazing.
And it's just, we see learners going from 50s to 90s, from 60s to 80s. So think about it. If you in your 50s, you can barely study anything.
Yes.
Now you can study anything.
Yeah.
And there's a career path waiting for you.
Yes.
Whether it's a university bursary or it's a TMA, Toyota Manufacturing bursary, or whether it's into a TVET or a learnership. But we build this and, most of our learners are currently in the post-education sector.
That's amazing.
Busy studying and crafting a career for themselves.
That is so amazing. That just stirs hope. And even in my heart, I feel like, yes, how can we please get more information, Marli? So help us to understand how this pipeline works. And obviously there must be funding behind that, or just help our listeners understand.
Of course, Yanni. So, much of what we do would not have been possible if it wasn't for some of the corporates that we partner with. And we have mechanisms where we actually use funds that they would have normally spent on their BE compliance in any way. And instead of just spending the funds as a tick box exercise, we then use those funds to actually change people's lives.
Amazing.
And the corporates, in so many ways, they benefit not only on a compliance side, but they now have an opportunity to have these learners developed from a young age, from high school, and they get to build their own talent pipeline directly from the communities in which they function.
So good.
So not only are they equipping these learners individually, but they are assisting in uplifting these communities and alleviating poverty in the communities that they serve.
Yeah.
So they become these the responsible corporate citizens.
Yeah.
And they get to partake in a story of changing these people's lives and breaking out of the cycle of poverty just by spending money that they would have normally spent.
Yeah.
So it's such a privilege to be able to have these corporate partners, and by including more corporate partners, we are able to scale this and increase the depth and the width of how we impact these communities.
Yeah, I love what you're saying about the depth as well, because we think let's just do a lot, but if you think of depth, what that does to a person, and I'm thinking, Jacques kept saying it's an individual pathway. There's like this one person, and this is the pathway that this one person will take, and there's a coach worrying about that one person. And I love because Jesus also he stopped for that one person. He really cared for one person at a time. And I also think in South Africa, when we think of scaling anything, when we stop and look at one person, the story will grow, and that the impact of that one person will. And in Popup, we've actually seen one person's impact will change 10 people's lives. So please don't go away, our listeners. We love having this chat. We believe we're stirring hope as we talk about skill in South Africa, and there's so much hope. And after our music break, we will continue the discussion.
Yes.
Yep.
That was Coming Home Live by Influence Music with Mark Brock. Welcome back to Skills Journey with me, Emil Robenheimer, and Yanni Bravenboer from the Popup team. If you're just joining us, we've been having a fascinating discussion around the meta skill of how we function effectively in systems. So if you've been following the show for the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about the 5 big meta skills, and we've kind of compared them to the big 5, which in today's discussion is the elephant, and just the contribution the elephant makes to its environment, in reshaping that environment so that everything in that environment can flourish and so that new growth can continue. Some really great research on that. And we've been having awesome discussion with the team from Inqubeko, with Jacques and Marli, just around the incredible work that they're doing in the post-schooling education and training system, but actually really kind of that space between basic education and post-schooling education and training, and how what they're doing is helping youth to kind of never become unemployed in the first place, because we are really struggling with this youth unemployment in our country. And their innovative approach is saying, hey, instead of trying to fix youth unemployment, let's just not get youth to be unemployed to get going. And I've just been so inspired by that discussion, Jacques and Marli, and it's been a privilege to have you guys here. But what I'd really like to chat about is next steps. And so before I pass to Jacques, I think one things, if you're a listener and you're a student and you're really trying to figure out what is your next step in your career, where do you go? There's an awesome initiative that Popup is involved in with the Department of Higher Education and Training, where they are rolling out career guidance sites across at least 3 of the provinces right now, which is Free State and Gauteng and the Northwest. So if you are in any of those provinces, please have a look on the Department of Higher Education and Training website, the DHET. They've got pathways where you can go for government subsidized career guidance counseling to say, hey, what are the opportunities out there? Because I think sometimes we almost have a very limited perspective around what types of jobs are out there. And I try to force my passions into a box that kind of I think exists. Oh. And when we just take the time as learners and young professionals to explore the immense possibilities out there and how quickly that's growing and expanding, Yanni, I think it's definitely worthwhile to go do that. Similarly, if you are kind of in your mid-career and you're starting to get some successes, you might have kids where you're like saying, hey, how do I get my kids to walk a different path perhaps than what I did, or to not get bogged down by these very limited perspectives? I think it's super useful to get your kids exposed to career guidance counseling and just the immense kind of spectrum of opportunities that are out there. But also, I want to hear from the Inqubeko team just around leaders in business, leaders that are kind of elephants in their ecosystem, right? That are changing the way our ecosystems function and work. How could they potentially get involved with what you guys are doing?
Yeah, thank you, Emil. I want to first thank the leaders out there because they make it possible, for the ecosystems to
yes,
work.
Exactly.
But a very practical way for them to get involved is to contact us, obviously, and Marli will speak to that. But because we truly want to build talent pipelines, we truly want to make a difference. And most of the leaders in corporates that I speak to, they also want to make a difference. It's rarely that you speak to them and they're like, I don't really want to make a difference. They really want to, also make a difference. And we can, build these pipelines for them into either their ecosystem or their tier suppliers. If I talk the automotive industry, or the mining industry. And one specific one I want to specifically mention that we realized is there's so much compliant funds that they need to spend, especially on the bursary, line item for mines and the automotive. And we say, let's show you a dashboard. So let's start in school with those bursary funds. Let's show you a dashboard and say, because I always say, who do you employ? Do you employ someone that wings it and gets 80 for maths and science, but they just clever and in school you can still wing it. In the job you can't.
No, exactly.
Or do you use someone that works hard? They got their 70, but they work on, and we can show you grit, attendance, attitude, etc. So we really want to, and then once they enter, it's exactly what you're saying, Emil. They know they should be there because we also use career guidance in the whole package because it's so critical. So also, I would love to check out what you're doing.
It's almost a mechanism to create that culture fit for the organization, to say, yes, it's not just about skills, but it's also about the character and it's about the way these people show up. So not just about intelligence. And you guys have perfected that, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
So how do they get in touch, Marli? How do they reach you?
Yeah, Emil, so if you want a bit more information and see what Inqubeko has been up to, you are welcome to visit our website on www.inqubeko.com. So that's INQUBEKO.com. You can check us out on all the social media channels on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. So we are on all of those. And then if you would like to directly contact us, you are welcome to send us an email at info@inqubeko.com. So any one of those channels, reach out and we'll be
awesome.
In touch.
That's amazing. So just for those of you who didn't catch it, it's INQUBEKO.com. So please reach out to these guys. We're taking a short music break and then we're just going to close this out with some final thoughts. That was Show Up, Choose Love by Toby Mac featuring John Riddick, and such an appropriate song, I think, just to wrap up our show today. You're with me, Miel Robenheimer, and Yanni Bravenboer with Skills Journey, if you're just joining us. And we've been having a discussion over the last couple of weeks about meta skills and those big 5 meta skills that really define how we show up in the workplace. And today we've had the immense privilege of having Jacques and Marli from the Inqubeko team talking to us about the elephants, you know, how the big skill systems work, and how we as organizations and as individuals can engage in those spaces to really help the entire environment flourish. And it's been such a privilege to have you, Marli and Jacques.
Yeah, Emil, thank you. Thank you, Yanni. It's such a privilege to be here. Thank you to Impact. I've been personally enjoying Impact tremendously. So thank you for just the time. And it really is an absolute privilege to share the same heart. You know, show up, choose love.
Absolutely.
That's what we do on a daily basis.
So good. So good.
Yeah, thank you so much, Emil and Yanni, for having us. It's been an immense pleasure. And also thank you to the listeners. Thank you for joining in and just sharing in this journey with us. It's been a privilege to share what Inqubeko does, and we really look forward to you guys reaching out and making some contact. So thanks, Emil and Yanni.
Thank you so much, Marli and Jacques. Maybe just one last little tad for our listeners. What does Inqubeko actually mean?
So it means progress.
Progress. Yes. That's wonderful. So maybe one last thing from my side. I was actually reading a book a couple of months ago called Tapestries of Life by a lady called Anne Sverdrup Tigerson. So it's not written from kind of a Christian perspective. It's written from kind of an evolutionary standpoint, just around how ecosystems function in the natural world. But for me as a Christian reading that book, I think Anne has an immense insight into the complexities of ecosystems. And what I see as a Christian reading this is just the glorious beauty of God's design in ecosystems. And one of the things she specifically speaks about is the role that a whale plays in moving nutrients from the ocean floor onto land. And if you think about the elephant that functions in complex ecosystems on land, the whale does a similar thing in the ocean, and it moves minerals around so that life can flourish. And I think sometimes, you know, as leaders in organizations, we are these whales in society, and we can't be there to consume. We should be there to move resources around. And I've really been challenged by that. And so if you want to look that book up, I think it would be incredibly useful just to understand how ecosystems function and the incredible nuances and beauty and intricacies of God's design. So thank you so much for spending time with us. Next week, we're looking forward to unpacking some of the challenges on meta skills in general. And we're excited to unpack the Rhino, which really teaches us about how to lead ourselves, the benefits of doing so, and some of the challenges in getting that right. But please stay tuned for Well of Hope with Tebs David. See you guys next week.